From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, the former president of programming at CBS Radio and the author of Next Job, Best Job, a Headhunter's 11 strategies to get hired now, Rob Barnett. With Gina Grad on news and Paul Bryan on sound effects, and now, rated R for brief language, Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on the show. Get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. We love that about you, right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
And Paul Bryan.
Adam, this is radio.
Oh, radio. That's right. Rob Barnett. He's the guy who hired me. He was in charge at CBS for figuring out who filled in for Howard Stern. Got to ask him about, he hired me for the West Coast, and then he hired
Rover in the
Midwest.
The great David Lee Roth for the East Coast.
Got to get him tell some David Lee Roth stories.
Diamond Dave.
I wonder if he oversaw that decision. I know he was in charge of the West Coast, but...
well, if he's head of CBS Radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, now what... There was a couple things.
A lot of times things are brokers.
I always talked to Mike August about it. Couple mistakes they made. David Lee Roth, me, Rover, people like that. I think David Lee Roth was done in like 9 days, but maybe Rover hung out for a while. I hung out for 3 years plus, and we'll get into some of those trials and tribulations. Mike August always says that, after Stern announced he was going to Sirius XM, they left him on the air for the next year.
That's right.
Because they wanted the commercial. Or they wanted to sell commercial spots with Stern, but
he famously couldn't even say Sirius or XM at that point. He said, eh.
Right, but it was a 1 year kind of lead into they let him kind of advertise, so to speak, for that.
Does not happen in radio.
And they were addicted to the short money there, but they probably should have come up with a little different strategy. Anyway. What I didn't know was going on at my home station of KLSX is when I was hired and Jimmy hired me and Jimmy was going to consult and like Mike August and stuff like that. The management at KLSX did not want us there. They wanted
became apparent quickly.
Frosty, Heidi, and Frank or somebody else
into the morning,
to do the mornings. Right. And so all we got was this sort of internal resistance that was confusing to us
there
because
was some hostility.
We were showing up to work to try to fill Howard Stern's big shoes, and we're being sabotaged from within.
You didn't feel supported?
We weren't met with a lot of support.
No, I think Jimmy and Jack Silver didn't get along from Jump Street, and then it was all just kind of downhill from there. They even had Death Dog.
Yes.
It's a great story.
Who was, what? Do you remember that story?
I remember well, yeah. Death Dog was taking to the, Death Dog, an employee, an employee at the station was taking to the, I believe he was in charge of the internal message boards, like the ones on our site that hosted comments about the show, blah, 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 ostensibly for fans. He was going on there under an assumed name, Death Dog, a handle, an avatar, and posting all sorts of less than positive observations about the show.
And the calls coming from inside the house, how could he know that if he's just a listener?
Well, there are certain things. So we're like, who is this guy that's constantly beating up the show who is on the message boards? We never really initially thought that it would be the guy in charge of the message board who worked for the show. But because he kept letting pieces of information out that only we would know, we started to know it was coming from within. But better yet, and this happens a lot, his spelling was so bad, and he had other...
They probably thought it was you.
He was so bad at his job that we knew that it was probably him. I think we called him into the studio on the air to confront him.
There was a lie detector. He was hooked up. He was strapped.
Please. I vaguely remember this happening. I would love to hear that again.
I don't want to give his full name, but it's Jack Sullivan.
Yes.
Yes, and he immediately caved, I think. I don't even think he went through the lie detector. So
I think it was off the air. He confessed to Bresco or something along those lines, like, dude, we got to make this end.
But he never got fired.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Promoted?
No, which kind of makes you wonder what Jack Silver knew. And I'm guessing stuff. So
there are a lot of shenanigans. Remember my drops all got deleted over like the Christmas break?
Right.
Like I had these are irreplaceable, literally irreplaceable. I had a treasure trove of drops I'd collected over 2 years. This was the end of 2007, and my strong suspicion is that there were so many Danny Bonaduce drops, and he had recently been assigned to another program hour that I think he got in Jack's ear. Was like, hey, make those disappear, and they indeed did.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was
irreplaceable. It's my work.
It was, I agree. It was tough enough to do the job as is, but we were being sort of hobbled from the inside.
Well, don't get me started on the peanut butter.
For how much the peanut butter costs. And it made it more difficult. Stories that I remember. So, I said, I don't know why Jack loved Bonaduce so much, but he just decided that he needed to be a part of the show. So in year 2, I said, fine, I like Danny Bonaduce, be part of the show. But after a year of earnestly trying, it just didn't work with the douche man. So then that's when I had my famous sit out, blue flu or whatever it is I got, because I met
COVID
with the head of CBS at the Ivy, I recall, when he was in town shortly before then. And I just said, look, I don't want to do another year with Bonaduce, so I can't do another year with Bonaduce. And it was a weird time because, again, James Baby Doll Dixon did the baby, just get the checks. Who cares? Who cares who's in the studio? Who cares? And he literally said, just ignore him.
And you're like, I'm an artist.
Tune him out. Just tune him out. Just ignore him.
4 hours
I said,
a day.
well, you can't really do that with someone who's yelling into a microphone who's 4 feet away from you. And he's like, just tune him out. And that's when I said to Dixon, I said, what if I just let a macaw loose in your house? And I just told you, don't pay any attention to the bird. Just if you open the shower curtain and the macaw's there, like flapping on top of the shower
Pretend like
spigot,
it doesn't
just
exist.
or you open a closet and the closet, just keep walking.
That is the greatest story I have ever heard.
Do you remember the bit, and I think Chris has it, that Conway got in a lot of trouble for because we did it so often, the Will Danny Kill It, and we played clips from the morning show, and you would say a joke, and then we'd all have to guess if Danny was going to kill it, and he would give a punchline, and there would just be the sound of pots and pans falling.
Yes.
And Tim got, I think, heavily reprimanded for that.
Yeah. Well, probably not supposed to be endorsing or I don't know if that's an endorsement of the competitor's radio show. Wait, was Tim on at night?
Yeah,
no, Tim
we
was
were
on
on-
at
we
night
were on
there.
6 to
That's
10.
right. That's right.
Oh, do you want to hear it? We have it.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, sorry.
Will Danny kill it?
Listen, I bring home the bacon and I expect this and that. And she'd say, I bring home the bacon too. And I'd say, you bring home the bacos. Right. I bring home the little bits and pieces of simulated bacon. I bring home the actual Canadian stuff.
All right, here we go. Will Danny kill it?
Sorry, comparatively speaking, she brings home sausages.
There you go.
And we did that a lot.
Yeah, well, that was another one of my big kerfuffles, which is when we were going off the air. Of course, I knew about it months before anyone else did. And they were talking about moving me to New York. That was the big thing. They were going to fire everybody, and I was going to go to New York. And I don't know what I was going to do in New York, take over for Stern in New York or something. And I was like, I couldn't tell any staff or producers or anybody that they were out, I don't know, March 11th or something or whenever it was. That was our drop dead date. But I never said anything. But I did say something the day before we went off the air, and I think I said something because I wanted to give a nod to Tim because they were going to pull the plug at 5 p.m.
In the middle of Lycus' show.
And Tim, who came on afterward, who'd been there the longest, wasn't going to get a chance to say goodbye. So I wanted him to get a chance to say goodbye to his audience the night before they pulled the plug because he'd be off the air. And then
Tom had to blow up the station.
Right.
And then Danny came on to do his shift after mine. And he just completely destroyed me for saying it a day early because we had this agreement, and I jumped the gun to make everyone look bad, and all this nefarious shit, which is just like another, like, kids, you see what happens when you try to do something nice for somebody?
Yeah, let that be a lesson.
No good deed.
Let that be a lesson.
Yeah.
But
Well, Tim still appreciates it.
I remember that. I remember when Rachel Perry was thinking about shooting her sci-fi pilot.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
For Fox, where she was going to be a lady astronaut scientist.
You're right. That's I conflated two events in my mind because Rachel left for a week to do New York Fashion Week, which resulted in a lot of good content for the radio show.
Yeah,
but then
she was going to New York to do Fashion Week or something, and we'd go, all right, we're going to call in and like check with you in the morning.
Give us the
and
dish.
then the updates on who
Got
you
some boots
saw
on the
and what they
ground.
were wearing. And every time we called her, she just seemed annoyed that we called. And I'd be like, what happened last night at the big gala? And she'd be like, not much. And it's like,
Kind of trying to sleep.
yeah, like it just wasn't
all
really,
distracted, phone checking.
yeah, didn't come through. So at some point, I was like, all right, Rachel's not working out in this format at all. Doesn't appear to like me at all, and certainly doesn't think I'm funny. And she would just say stuff like, "You got 4 hours to do every morning," and I'd say some joke at 6:20, and then I would do it 3.5 hours later. I'd go, "Oh yeah, the Clooney story in Lake Como," and she'd go, "You already said that." Oh boy, I'd be like,
yes, I have.
thank you. 3 hours while everyone who's listening now was asleep. Yes, I did.
She also did that weird thing that I dislike in people where, remember Snakes on a Plane was coming out and she couldn't be more psyched. Oh, this is going to be awesome. It's like, do you really think it's going to be awesome? Or are you ironically sort of leaning into this tongue-in-cheek joke that we're all getting and moving on with?
Yeah.
Can't wait, man.
Not a fan. And
She loved nerds.
yeah.
Then why are you guys married?
Not a fan of
That's
her
the thing.
Yeah.
morning radio skills.
Right.
So it was clear to everybody it'd be nice to go a different direction. And at some point I walked into the office and she needed 10 days to like shoot the sci-fi pilot for Fox where she was going to play the astrophysicist or something. And she was standing in Brusca's office and she was going, just 10 days, I just need 10 days. And Brusca was like, absolutely not. You're not going anywhere. No one's going anywhere. You're coming here Monday morning. And I was like, she's leaving.
Yeah, take me out.
Brusca. This is our opening.
great.
She hates us and we hate her and she's going to leave. And by the way, I'm doing the Hollywood math. When she's asking for she's going maybe 9 or 10 days, that's 2.5, 3 weeks.
Right.
I know how the schedule goes. So Brusca's like, you're definitely not going anywhere. And I come in, I go, oh, you need a few days off? Yeah, you can take a few days off. And Brusca's like, no, she can't have any time
Whatever
off.
you need, we're here
Shut
for you.
I was like this close to kicking him in the shin.
Stamping on his foot.
And I was like, you absolutely can go and do all the reshoots you want. Take all the time you need.
Really spread out.
And she's like, thank you. And she left. And that was the last time we saw her. So I sort of I knew that one was coming.
Whatever happened to her?
I do not
It's just the rover now.
know. Probably from Canada.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
So
I never met Brusca.
Oh, Brusca
Never
was.
met him.
Well, Brian's got a.
I
Brian, if you want to hear what Brusca sounds like, this is him hyping a Vegas
Right.
trip.
Yeah.
Oh, this is him getting the listeners excited.
Yeah,
Adam,
amping him up.
He jumped in on Adam not doing a good enough job doing a promo. Adam
Right.
was in the middle of a promo.
It's a great show. A lot of fun.
You were in the middle of doing a promo, and he was like, "You're not doing it good enough. Let me take this."
Let me take the reins. Get people excited.
Yeah, Brusca. I got along with Brusca, but he was a bull in a china shop. And
He was a nice guy. I would have I enjoyed having a beer with Brusca the couple times we went out. He was a good dude.
yeah, so there was all that we had to contend with. And then, of course, when they promised me that Danny wasn't coming back for year 2,
Right.
year 3 for me, then when they did, radio's just that way where it's like I sat down with the head honcho, we had a meal, and I just went, look, nothing against Bonaduce. I just cannot do this. I can't, I won't, I'm just not going to do it. So don't re-sign him for another. And he was like, okay. And then like 2 weeks later, it's like, hey, he's resigned. They resigned him, which is how radio works. So then I just went home and stayed home. And that...
Slept in.
Right. And then I did the math. Like, you have to make these sort of calculated decisions in your life. Like, the thing was, well, if you stay home, then they're just going to fire you. But I was like, and then give the morning show to Danny? They're not going to do that. So I knew they weren't going to do that. So I just stayed home. And I didn't wake up before 10 a.m. I didn't listen.
Oh.
I didn't pick up my phone.
Heaven.
I didn't do anything. And at some point in the middle of my radio silence, the agents calling and the executives calling and everyone calling, at some point there was a ring on my gate, and it was Jimmy. He was just standing there. And he said, what's going on? Like, you're not picking up your phone. And I go, yeah, I'm not. I'm thawing them out. I'm just letting them sit with their feelings. I don't want to deal with these guys. And he goes, well, pick up your fucking phone. They never stop calling me.
Fair.
Yeah, that counts.
Yeah. So,
you didn't tune into those shows. What you missed were 3 of the most uncomfortable days of my life.
Oh, yeah.
It was very tough, man, because it was Danny in the captain's chair, Teresa, and me. And 2 of those were in studio shows. It was the end of the year. 2 of those were in studio shows where I think Danny gave out his phone number, like on the air, and just started answering his cell. It was morning zoo radio, but all the gates had been opened. And then the 3rd show was a live show.
Yeah.
From where? Was it Playboy?
Somewhere horrible. No.
Somewhere horrible in the city of industry.
It was like the
Christmas Carolla.
Senior Frogs.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I thought that was the first show you guys did.
That was the last show of the year.
Last show of the year, and it was so uncomfortable. Dawson, you remember? First of all, the crowd was confused.
I never showed up.
Yeah, bemused.
The crowd was confused that you weren't there and what was happening. The element of the crowd that was super excited that Danny was hosting was an unpleasant element of the crowd. Small, thankfully, but unpleasant. And then on top of that, Jack Silver kept taking to the stage to be like the hype man. Like every time Danny would throw a commercial or whatever you do, Jack would come out like that. You're describing what I'm doing. Jack would come out like
trying to get people to clap.
The crowd clapping. It was one of the more uncomfortable moments of my in front of a live audience.
Yeah.
Do you remember who the guest was for that show?
It Dana?
We did. It was Dana
Yeah.
Gould.
Oh, how did he talk about
just
confused?
Sat up on the dais. He just sat up there with the look of deer in the headlights. Like, get me the fuck out of here, please.
Chris, you can dig for this, and I mean dig, but there's a picture of Dana looking extremely uncomfortable, confused, bewildered, like an off mic moment. He's going like, what the F is going on?
I felt bad for everybody, but I still realize this is the only way I'm going to get this done is not to show up.
I sent you an email while you were doing your strike, and I sent you an email saying, "Look, I just want you to know that I work for you. So I'm gonna wait this out with you, but please come back."
You sent the same email to Danny.
Well, Danny ain't taking you to Anchorage, so
yeah.
So Danny, they ended up wedging him in the afternoons for 1 hour, which does not happen in radio. Nobody has a 1 hour random radio
because
show.
once he signed his contract and he didn't have anything to do in the morning show, then they had to get their money out of him, so they slid him in. And I'm sure Jack was a big fan. Danny
was a nice guy.
Danny?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Danny's
Very
totally
nice
guy. You wouldn't want him to be your airplane pilot or your morning show sidekick or co-host. Yeah, I like Danny plenty. So there was that. Rob, did Rob send you the timeline from the CBS radio?
Well, yeah. So I asked him about your guys' history together.
Now, Rob was let go a month after I got on the air.
Was that soon? Oh, wow.
Well,
doesn't bode well.
Yeah, according to this.
All right, so he says, as president of CBS Radio, I was tasked with the impossible job of replacing Howard Stern.
Yeah.
The smartest idea I had was to hire Adam to take over the Western Hemisphere of these United States. With Jimmy Kimmel as my advisor, I pay these boys zillions of dollars to forge the future of morning radio. I told the suits in LA they weren't allowed to talk to Adam for the first 6 months. They hated me, but I was right. We hired Mike August and a team of more than a dozen warriors who needed time to help Adam kick ass.
He whiffed on a couple things.
Moonves ran CBS. May he rest in fucking unemployment. He tossed me out one day with over 200 other souls as they began to dismantle the house that Howard built. I flew out to LA for lunch with Adam to tell him once I was gone and unable to protect him, they would come. Gunning for him next. Enter Bonaduce and the beginning of the end for radio and the beginning of the empire he built as the god of podcasting. And scene.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Rob.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cinematic.
We did well. We did well in all the markets we're in. Number one, and like I said, Vegas and Seattle and many, Portland.
Oh, yeah.
Like we were number one most places. We'd worked our way up to number maybe 4 in Los Angeles because I do remember I got bonus checks from all the other markets, maybe Phoenix or Vegas or something where we were number one. And right before the end, I'd got my first bonus ratings check for LA. So we were actually doing well everywhere. So it wasn't a failure per se. Like it wasn't a ratings issue.
It was a money issue. It was a jukebox.
Well, for the station, they couldn't afford to pay 5 morning shows a day anymore.
Right.
I mean, it was just talk.
Yeah.
Also, I think the 2008 year was our best year on the radio. I think things were clicking, and then
we got Danny out, we got Teresa in,
we got Brusca out.
Angie
was producing.
Was producing.
Everybody loved each other.
Should've kept tab.
It was a joy to come to work every day.
Yeah.
Do you say should have kept tab?
Should have kept tab.
Yeah.
Yeah, big tab.
Hindsight's 2020.
All right, so that's that story, but we can get into it. I'm wondering, David Lee Roth. I've got to hear some stories about that guy. And also, I'm curious how long Rover lasted, who I don't really know.
Have you never interviewed David Lee Roth?
Yeah, I think I have.
Think you have.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember, well, you wouldn't, I don't know if you even were aware, did you know before you actually took over live, they were just playing the audiobook? But like there was like a couple days before you actually went live, and I would turn it on and I go, whoa, Adam's really monologuing. And it took me a little bit to realize that they were playing the audiobook.
What book?
I don't remember. I just remember being in the car.
What they were doing is they were playing a bunch of pre-programmed stuff I did. I remember going in the studio and they'd go, "What's your take on?" And
it wasn't any audio books.
No, because the book came
the book in the podcast
a few years later. Yeah.
Well, this is me in retrospect wondering what that could have been.
It was not something that was normally formatted in radio. I think we decided that they should
monologuing.
Come in and go, service dogs.
Yeah,
go.
and it was great. And it was like, wait, am I hearing this on regular radio? That was fun.
All right. Brian, any recollections? Are you good?
I'm dying to ask Rob about how long he lasted in 2006, that first year, because it's very tumultuous. They let a lot of people go at the end.
I think he got out early-ish in
June,
2006. Oh, June, July.
Yeah.
Oh, for some reason I thought he left earlier. All right, so he's with us for about 6 months, but then we're on our own. As you look back on it, you're like, it could have never worked because so many people within didn't want it to work.
I remember now what I was about to say, which is that moment. I don't know if you remember this or even know. You probably do. The moment that you found out you had gotten the job to take over for Howard Stern was captured on the Adam Carolla project on TLC.
Yeah, I do sort of recall that.
I remember you being underwhelmed, at least externally, and Ray and everyone else being much more excited than you for the news.
I also did this. I also had this funny thing, which is my last year of Loveline. Could have been more than a year, but I think it was about a year. I had that famous story where, for some reason, at the end of Loveline, after doing it for almost a decade, our contract came up, and we were being paid like $980,000 a year each. It was always favored nations, Drew and I. We got paid the same all day, every day. That's how it always went. And then at the very end, they came up with this contract where they said, Drew, you get your regular pay. You get $975,000 a year. Adam, you get $260,000.
Oh.
And I went, why? They were like, that's our deal. And I was like, why don't you just reduce us both to $500K? And it'd still be the same. You'd save a few bucks. Drew would sign it. I probably would. Why not just do it that way? And he's like, nope, this is the way we're doing it. And I was like, what the fuck? I do all the work on this goddamn show. Drew's on the road half the time. Dr. Spaz is filling in for him and everything. So I just said, Drew, do not sign that contract. I told my manager, Howard, who was his manager, do not. I told our radio agent, who was his agent, and my agent, do not let him sign. If he signs that contract, I lose all my leverage. Second he signs it, I'm out. Yeah. I'm dangling in the wind. Yeah. I got nothing. If we can do it together, if we can get a united front going, then maybe we got some bargaining power here. So do not let him sign that contract. And then I got a call like 6 weeks later, and it's like, yeah, Drew signed his contract. And I was like, really? That was Bob Eatman, rest his soul. I was like, all right, Bob, well, you're fired. And Howard, I think we'd already fired, or maybe we were going to. But then I yelled at Drew for a while.
Yeah.
But he's stricken with a disease of cheapness.
Okay.
And his wife's probably leaning over him, like moving the pen in his hand, you know. And I was like, all right, I forgive you for your ways. But then we did the entire year, and I got paid 1/3 of what Drew got. But
be honest, did that affect your performance?
That was an uncomfortable night at Loveline.
But in general, for the year, were you like, why am I working so hard?
There were two things that happened that year.
Because the first night, it was Adam didn't talk as much, maybe reflective of the salary.
Sure.
He talked to me
a third of the time.
As much as he would have. In addition, I don't think the rest of the year was affected, but that was an uncomfortable evening.
Well, what happened, here's what happened. What happened was coincidentally that year, Drew got a job as like the spokesman for like Trojan condoms or something. And so he was like flying to New York a lot. Like, I got to do this thing for Trojan condoms. And Dr. Dean Adele would be sitting in, and Dr. Bruce, and there's this Dr. Marcel. There was like a rotating cast.
Right.
And I was like, wait a minute, when Drew goes out of town to make money, I have to stay here and keep working at less than a third with these doctors who don't know the format that well. So I got to pedal extra hard. And he's getting paid to go make money. And then also, if I ever had to miss a day, they would run best of. If Drew ever missed a day, I'd still have to come in and do the show. So not only was I not getting paid, but Drew was ironically getting paid again.
Right.
Doing this, he'd miss more days that year than any other year, going and chasing a nickel in Chicago, New York. And then it all came to a head. And it all came to the head one night when I think a band came in. Maybe it was Linkin Park.
Sure.
And
they came in a lot, so it's a good.
And they were trying to raise money for whatever relief.
Oh,
like
was
hurricane.
It Katrina?
May have been Katrina.
Katrina was right around that time.
Well, figure out what year Katrina was, because if it was 09, or 08, would have been 08.
August of 05.
Dude, this would have been 04 or 05 because
then it must have been it was some other tsunami or something, because this must have been later.
Well, keep in mind that I left the show in 05 and you left the show in 05.
I screwed up my dates. Yes, you're right.
You went on the show in 08.
I started podcasting in 09. I started doing the mornings in 06. So this was 05.
This would have been late 04, early 05.
Right.
Oh, sorry, Katrina. Yeah.
05.
The contract.
Right.
Stuff.
So they're trying to raise money. So they put everybody on the spot. Like, they went into the microphone and they were like, all right, we're going to put you on the spot, raise money for Katrina. Drew, of course, was not there that night. He was going and getting paid by Trojan, and they weren't messing with Dr. Dean Adele. They were looking at me.
Right.
And they were going, and I don't know. I can't remember. I was rather like, put me down for $5,000. And they were like, $5,000, that's nothing. It's nothing, or whatever it was. And I was like, all right, $10,000 or
Jesus.
whatever the amount was. It was a good chunk of change. It wasn't $300, but I can't recall. Gio will tell us what it is. Anyway, Drew wasn't there, and I was like seething because now I'm getting paid less. Now he's out of town getting paid, and now I'm getting the screws put to me by Lincoln Park to cut a fat check to the Katrina people. And when Drew came back from his money-making trip abroad, I just said to him, God damn it. You got to cut a check to Katrina.
Yes.
There's no fucking way. You're getting paid 3 times what I'm getting paid. You're out getting paid again. I was holding down the fort. Now I got to cut a check to these guys, and I'm in tough financial straits here because of my serious haircut I took from this job. And I just said to him, I'm not going to tell you what to give them, but you better cut them a fucking check. And he's like, all right.
Okay.
And I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks went by and there was nothing. And then, like, on the air, I just said to him, maybe it came time to collect from the band. Anyway, I said, what did you write? What did you? I don't even know what. You just you had to have written them a check. And he's like, you don't know where that money's going. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, you don't know. You don't know what those charities. You just, you don't know, right, Drew?
What?
Right. I mean, it could be going anywhere, right?
Right.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, it could be a grift. They could be taking that money.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So not only was it implied that my money just went out the window or up the nose of some office worker at the Katrina fund, but he's like, I'm not giving any money to them. You don't know where it goes.
That is a bold stance.
I went out of my mind.
Crazy.
Yes, I went crazy. That's right.
Crazy.
Crazy is the right word.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's not even like he thought he was being so generous and said, I gave $1,000. Like, he just said, fuck it. I'm not a part of this.
Couldn't give a paltry like $500.
Oh.
Trojan money.
Yeah, and that's when I came undone. That was it.
It's good to know you're still friends.
But, and this is where the story is leading. Well, I'll tease it. First, I'll tell you about Humble CBD, based out of Southern California. Humble makes it an insanely great hemp-derived CBD product and products. They make a whole bunch of products for any occasion. Humble is committed to helping you stay grounded no matter what life brings. Their line of CBD products is geared to help you focus, help you relax, help you recover, and more. Only for my listeners, Humble's offering 25% off your first order. Just go to use the promo code Adam. Save on your entire order site-wide. You head to www.humblecbd.com. That's humblecbd.com. Choose any of their products that meet your needs. And again, you save 25% off of any order site-wide. So get what you need at humble.com and humblecbd.com and stay grounded with Humble CBD. All right, we'll take a quick break. I'll tell you the kicker to this story right after this.
And now, a totally innocuous word that sounds dirty when Mike Dawson says it.
Box.
Ew. Let's get back to the Adam Carolla Show.
So when we're all done with that year of me getting paid $260,000,
And nobody offered an explanation for that.
I assume they wanted to get me out of there.
Okay. But no one offered you an explanation. They wouldn't tell you that.
No. And then they wanted me at the end to take over for Howard Stern, or near the end.
A lot of range.
So I said to James Baby Doll Dixon, I said, okay, so CBS Radio wants me to take over for Howard Stern. They go, yep. And I go, okay, let me work this out. Drew got $980,000 the last year we worked. I got $280,000. And whatever the math was, I did something. It's like they owe me $631,000 for the last year. And then when they pay me that money, then I will take over for Howard Stern. And
Damn.
Dixon was like, I remember, he was like, baby, you want a signing bonus? And I said, nope, it's not a signing bonus. It's the money they owe me for the last
back pay.
year.
Yeah.
And he goes, baby, I don't think I can sell him a bonus. And I said, don't call it a bonus. Don't call it. It's money owed.
Yeah, it's not future earnings. It's back pay.
That's back pay for a year of good faith that I put in, and I want to be made whole. I do not want a penny over that, whatever the chasm between what I got paid and Drew got paid, whatever that number is, I need that in the form of a check, and then I will start taking over for Howard Stern. You want a bonus, baby?
Oh, my God.
No. It's not a bonus.
Let's reset.
It's not a, don't call it a bonus. Don't tell them it's a bonus. It's not a signing bonus. It's the money they owed me. That's how I feel. I'm so profoundly insulted by this last year. I don't want to do any more years with this company unless they make me whole and make it right. And he was like, I don't know how I'm going to pitch this to them. And I was just exactly as I'm telling it to you. He had no idea what was going on with Drew and the money and whatever, and why it was, a bonus that was so crazy specific. But
well, I imagine it worked because you did.
Yeah,
it.
he got it out of him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
All's well that ends well.
You're a pretty shrewd business guy because there's so many stories of you. Maybe it was when I think you were talking to Kevin Weatherly, like back at Loveline. You're like, I don't want to get paid if no one else is getting paid, but if I'm making you money, by all means, cut me in. It's very measured, but it makes sense. But you're still sticking up for yourself, but you're not punitive.
Well, I told him I would do the job for free. That's how much I'm into radio. But if other people are getting paid from me, then I need a part of that.
Right.
And I've always found that you go in flailing and screaming and people kind of tune it out. You have to kind of make your case and be specific. And that was always my plan. But I always meant it. I never really I don't think of myself as a shrewd businessman. I was just like, I did this last year and I need to be made whole at the end of the year.
It is shrewd, though.
Well, maybe.
It's not like manipulative, and it's not like a magic trick or, abracadabra, I just got this free check. It's you sticking to your guns, which a lot of people, and I would say more women, are not used to being like, well, this is the logic, and once we get settled, then I can talk. That's just not very common. You don't hear about that.
Well, my dad sat me down a long time ago.
Sure, yeah.
No, I was just like, this is an injustice. We get favored nations. We've always got favored nations. We always got paid the same, and I got screwed, and I need to would have given that money away to charity at that point. I was just like, I am taking a stand and making a point. This is nuts. I don't know why they did this. I don't know why the thought was the guy who is doing all the talking. When I got there, we were in one market. By that time, we're in 125 markets. Why are you punishing the guy who seems to be pedaling the hardest here, making the show? But radio was kind of that way. There's not a lot of rhyme and reason to radio. All right, Shane is from Anchorage. Wants to pull some balls. Hey, Shane.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Guy.
How you doing, Ace-Man?
Good. What's going on?
Oh, just looking forward to the show on Saturday.
Yeah, man. Come on down. I kept saying to Mike, how are we doing on ticket sales? And he's like, I don't know. The guy won't communicate with me. So
is the show still
really?
on? Mike gets a lot of that. Well, you want to pull some balls, Shane?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Mm-hmm. What do you do there in Anchorage?
I work as swimming pool maintenance for a town outside of Anchorage, about an hour outside of Anchorage.
A lot of swimming pools in Anchorage?
Well, we've got local government-run swimming pools, so they're all indoor
carved into
pools.
the ice.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because it's like you hear those stories like he's going to be busier than a one-legged man at an ass-kicking competition or whatever.
Sure.
First, I would argue when you make these kinds of analogies, the event has to exist. There is no ass-kicking competition.
Right.
You have to pick a competition that exists. But anyway, he's going to be lonelier than a Anchorage pool man. You know what I mean? Like it sounds
we
like
can all understand that.
sounds like the opposite. Yeah, Shane.
Yeah.
So you do public pools and like gymnasiums and schools and things like that?
Yeah, it's just the public pools inside of the schools. I'm real lucky to have the job where I only work on the pools themselves.
Mm-hmm. And you're doing
Pools and hot tubs.
filters and things like that?
Yeah, all the plumbing, the electrical. I do the general maintenance of the building as well.
And hot tubs as well, which you got to figure that's got to be booming business over there in Anchorage, right?
Yeah, a lot of people like their hot tubs, but like I said, I just work for the ones that the city runs.
All right. So you got a good job. How do you like Anchorage?
Anchorage is nice. I live about an hour north. I like it a little better because I like less people. You'll find when you come up here, we like to be away from other people up here in Alaska.
Do you feel, we live in Los Angeles, so that's a perfect example of, you feel here like you're in a trench in a war all the time. The Anchorage, do you feel like you're a general up on the hill with binoculars watching all the insane people fucking fight it out in the trenches?
You know, I really do sometimes watching what's going on down there in the lower 48. Like, what the hell are you guys up to? My family's all in Portland, so I got a connection to everybody down there and all the nonsense going on. And I keep telling them, come on up, get away from there. But, yeah, you guys can keep your crazy shit down there.
Yeah, I saw some graphic that they're always talking about violent crime and murders and like everything's up. Portland arguably probably started pretty low, but when you look at that list, it's like L.A. is up 25%, New York's up 49%, Portland's up 300 and something percent in the murder.
My birthplace
department.
Yeah, it's crazy down there.
Shane, are you from Alaska, born and raised, or were you born in Portland?
I was actually born in Klamath Falls and grew up in Portland, and then I moved here to Alaska when I was 13.
Okay, so you're an Alaska guy. Like this is
I'm
what you've known.
Yeah, I've been here 30-something years.
Wow.
So,
God, it seems like 10 minutes ago it was keep Portland weird.
Yep.
Now it's violent and insane. Portland. But maybe that's the next progression after weird. Maybe you go from...
All right, we got weird down.
Now we're done being weird. Now we're taken to the streets. All right, you want to pull some balls over there in Anchorage?
Yeah, man, that'd be a good time.
So we're getting there half a day early, right, Max Spada?
Yeah, we were supposed to fly out Wednesday morning. Now we're flying out Tuesday afternoon.
Oh, boy.
And so we're going to have a night in Anchorage?
Yeah. I mean, we're landing at 1 a.m.
Oh, we landed that late?
Yeah, we're going to be there like 12.
You're not going to know it. It's going to be bright daylight.
That's a good point.
Oh, yeah. Figure out when we land. Because we still got to go out. And Dawson's got to get a pina colada.
Yeah.
I'm going to want a beer.
I'm wondering when the bars close, when the sun never sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, when do the bars close there, Shane?
In Anchorage, they close at 2 a.m., but where I am in Wasilla, an hour north, they close at 5 a.m.
So we could come in for a morning cap.
They open at 5:15.
You know who else is in Wasilla?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sarah
Palin.
I love Wasilla, and Shane, I am so proud to represent you as one of my constituents. There is go Wasilla Walruses, am I right? Go Wasilla.
You know what? We're not proud that Sarah Palin is.
Okay, anyway, it was great talking to you, Shane.
How's your little son Scrotal doing?
Scrotal's great. He is doing real well. Yeah.
Bristol
Scrotal, Trisket.
Trisket.
They all are champion snow skiers.
Snow skiers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we do real good, in Wasilla. And, they stay out. They say, Mommy, we want to stay out late even though it's midnight. And I say, okay, if the sun's still up, you have a good time, kids.
Trig's doing well. Track and Piper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're
okay.
doing great. Oh,
well, good.
yeah.
We landed 11, which I I thought we landed at 11, so that's
sorry, I
good.
misread it.
All right, so Dawson, we're going to get that beer.
Get that pina colada.
Sonny will go straight to the room. He'll be fine.
I feel like the drinking age is just a suggestion in Alaska. I think Sonny can go.
He's tall enough. Mm-hmm. Yes, Shane?
Tell Dawson to bring his own smokes when he comes up here. They're $12 a pack up here.
Just bought a carton today.
Yeah, buddy.
You got a plan.
Cabin smoking with Dawson.
Are you
That's
all
a podcast.
literally sharing a cabin?
Yeah, we're all going to be in one big resort. Well, I wouldn't call it a resort, but a lodge.
Yeah,
I'm going to
lodge.
need to check in on Jen regularly.
Oh, they're cooking. Goulash. I mean, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. Now,
Perfect 4th of July activity.
that's right. Goulash in Alaska. Nothing more American. Do they have like cell phone reception and stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not going back in time.
Well, I was thinking
You're
the
in
lodge.
Anchorage.
I didn't know about the lodge part. Anchorage, I could do the math
Yeah.
on, but the lodge, I was curious about.
I've called him a few times on his cell phone, the guy at the lodge, so
All right.
we'll be all right.
Hey, so you want to pull those balls, Shane?
Yeah, man.
All right, we'll see you at Coots on Saturday night then.
All right. Thanks, Ace Man. Get it on.
All right, make sure and say, hi, Guy. Let's talk to Frank from Houston. Frank.
Hi, Guy.
Hi, Guy.
Frank gets it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, believe it or not, I'm calling about F1. And Adam, I know you've expressed interest in it, but believe it or not, this is to get Gina interested.
Really?
I don't know if you've seen the F1 documentary yet, Gina.
No.
And if you guys can pull up a picture of some of the younger drivers, Gina, you'll want to adopt them. You'll love them.
Shit.
Yeah.
It's a soap opera, this
They're
documentary.
great.
Is this the series on Netflix?
Is this Drive
Yes.
to Survive? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a great series. Very well done.
I'm a newish fan. Yeah, very well done. I'm a newish fan. Came on it in the middle of the night a year and a half ago because I couldn't sleep. And it's on ESPN, 4 o'clock in the morning practice. And I'm hooked.
Yeah,
I
not
love
the
this
series,
stuff. So
the
anyway.
actual F1 race. Yeah, I hear, and this sounds good, right? We don't have any. We don't have
Ooh,
any.
la la.
They're good-looking
They're kind
young
of middle.
Euro waif guys. They, no one can be over 145 pounds. so
I think
they're
the
all
guy in the middle,
good-looking.
you'd want to play a young Adam Carolla.
Yeah, look
at
that.
boy.
Daniel Ricciardo
It's gotta be.
Lance Stroll.
It's probably Lance. But so here's the thing that I found out that's kind of interesting. We don't do F1 here except for we do it at Circuit of the Americas. We do it outside of Austin.
Okay.
We have an F1 track out there. An F1 track's a big deal.
October.
But they're going to do a street race in Miami, like Monaco.
Oh, shit.
Monaco is, I think, and you can check on this, Max, about it. Two things. I think Monaco is the only street course. So I'll give you an example. Long Beach
Like the
Grand
Long
Prix
Beach, yeah.
is a street course, and then Willow Springs and Laguna Seca. And
Track.
that's a track,
Yeah.
So once a year they get out all the barriers and everything. And Monaco is super cool because people are in their hotel rooms, out on their
Hanging out of the-
balconies,
yeah.
sitting on their yachts in the harbor, and it's got a history. But why not do it in Miami?
Yeah.
Like that would be pretty cool to have a street circuit in Miami. Oh, Singapore has a street circuit?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, did not know that. In Melbourne? I didn't think Melbourne was a street
It's all
circuit.
rickshaws in Singapore.
Mm-hmm. Montreal and Sochi, they're all street course, huh? I thought the Melbourne.
Yeah, no Singapore this year.
No Singapore this year. Check on that
right.
Melbourne. All right, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
We'll see you at
Anyway.
F1.
Yeah, enjoy it a lot. Go watch it. Take care, guys.
Yeah, I will. It's a good series. It's a lot of, eye candy, but a lot of drama. You don't have to be into racing. I'll tell you what I don't like, and I've always said this. I was watching the Kiss 2-part series, Gina Grad.
Yeah?
On A&E.
Uh-huh.
Calm down.
Super interesting story. You should watch that. I'm not a big Kiss fan, but I watched a Kiss doc. I watched the Heart doc. I'll watch, 20 Feet from Stardom. I'll watch any doc on any chick or any impoverished black man in the turn. I'll watch anything on anybody. And then when it comes to car shit, people go, oh, I'm not in a car.
I'm not a car guy.
Yeah, but the drama is the teams and the guys getting cut, and you better win this race or you're not going to be on this team next year, and he's in first, and then he gets into an accident. And that's what the story is. The car's the vehicle.
Literally.
That pulls the story, just like that's how movies are made. Whatever story they're telling, it's about World War II, but it's always about the relationship and the drama and all that kind of stuff. So the notion... Good stories are good stories. I hate it when people go, I don't like World War II. It's like, well, I don't like cars. I'm not a car person. That's the story you're watching.
Get you into it.
So what about the Kiss doc?
Kiss is...
Because I know a lot of it.
There's a two-parter on A&E that I stumbled across yesterday, and I saw the first part, and I haven't watched the second part yet, but it's good, man. I mean, it's a crazy story.
Yeah. Does it start from like their humble beginnings, or is it like...
Yeah, it's a two-parter. It starts with everybody and all their problems and all their poverty, and then it leads to... And it's always two guys in the band are all business, and the other
Paul
two guys
and Gene.
are all about partying.
Chris and Ace.
And it just never works.
Yeah.
Eventually, it never works. But and then there's always the drummer, the bass player from their first iteration that just got left behind.
Right.
Didn't quite make it.
Yeah. All right. We got Rob Barnett, who's going to join us, and we'll talk to him right after this.
Do you want to be a part of Adam's next book?
Shit, yeah!
Submit your questions for Ask an Asshole by emailing them to askhole@adamcarolla.com. Please include your name, age, and location. Ask about any topic you need the Ace Man's advice or answers on. That's ASKHOLE@adamcarolla.com.
Rob Barnett has joined us. We were talking about you before this, taking a little walk down memory lane with CBS Radio, so people are well versed in who Rob Barnett is. But now an author. The book, Next Job, Best Job, A Headhunter's 11 Strategies to Get Hired Now. It's available now on Amazon. Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you. It's great to see you. Hi, Brian. Hi, Gina. We haven't met.
No,
I'm the
exciting.
OG Carolla.
That's right.
You know, it's funny. I'm looking down on your resume, and I figured there'd be something here because we were talking about, I was watching the Kiss documentary on A&E. What led me to the Kiss documentary on A&E is they did a whole MTV retrospective on A&E. And how these things go from these ragtag, it was like K-Rock was that way. Like, who cares? A bunch of flunky, unemployable people crashing out and stuff, to big corporate, insane, record companies went from, why should we give you a video, to please play our video, please, And Rob's been there, done that, seen it all. But I'm looking down at the bottom, and you were with MTV for a while, right?
Long haul, yeah. I started in the 80s, not the very beginning, but when it was still super fun, cool, and all music. And then ran there for 12 years, half at MTV, half at VH1.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so crazy to see that. The best part about all these documentaries is seeing what everyone was before they were what they were. And also hearing them pitching ideas was really interesting. In the MTV doc, what got MTV to be MTV is they couldn't get any cable carriers to carry MTV. So they would go around and everyone go, we're not interested in your stupid video station. And they got a new guy, and his name escapes me, but maybe Max Powell found it. He showed up, and he did an ad campaign years ago for like a cream of wheat kind of cereal, like a hot breakfast cereal, where he got sports jocks to go like, I want my Cremora cereal, and I want my, and he thought, what if I could get big celebrity, rock celebrity to go, I want my MTV.
That's exactly right. That's what did it. And then they got Jagger and Bowie and everybody else. I mean, they got, the greatest rock stars in the world to do promos, basically.
And he like traveled to England, went to like Jagger's like hotel suite, and like went, can you do a thing where you go, I want my MTV?
Brilliant.
And Jagger went, well, that sounds like a commercial. And he went, no, it's a promo. And he goes, well, we get paid for commercials. And he goes, no, it's a promo. And he goes, it sounds like a commercial.
An endorsement, at least. Yeah.
Now, the guy, very resourcefully, when they're going back and forth with Mick Jagger, pulled $1 out of his pocket and said, okay, I'll pay you.
That's
Here's
right.
$1. And I think Jagger had a sense of humor at that point. Like he went, okay, that'll be funny. And he did it. And then once he did it, then
Everyone
they
will
got Pete
do it.
Townsend and everyone else. And then once everyone started saying, I want my MTV, all the cable carriers had to. Just this super simple idea
workaround.
based on a weird breakfast cereal from back in the
It
day.
became iconic.
Yeah. God, this must have been some crazy days, too. I mean, it's kind of nice that you were in so many places in time that can never really be recreated again just because of technology, right?
Technology and the world's worst bosses now, right? Back then, you could work for people who gave you room, who let you make mistakes, who didn't fire you for looking at somebody the wrong way. That's what was ultimately great about it. There was a culture at MTV and VH1 where one of the four of us could pitch a show, on a Wednesday afternoon at 5:00 about toast. And then it could be on the following week. It wasn't 8 months of meetings with 500 executives. It really was a time long gone. It was really different.
The guy's name is George Lois, I think.
Yes, yeah.
And it was based on the commercial ad, I want my Mapo.
Mapo?
Yes. What the hell ever happened to that?
It was like cream of wheat.
We're speaking of influential, so Rob was there from 89 to 2000. It says on your bio at MTV. Of course, MTV altered culture so much in those years, but the most lasting impact from those years might be reality TV with The Real World.
Yeah.
Like that was
sure.
That ripple is still being that's still going today. Whereas videos are kind of passe. They're not here, they're or nor there.
Right.
Yeah, that for me, honestly, Brian, that was the beginning of the end because I went there because I loved music, right? It was that they closed the door one day and we had one of those meetings and they said, all right, here's the problem. We can't get Nielsen ratings if somebody that loves one video is going to hate the next one. We need shows, and that's where it began.
Yeah, you need
It
someone to
began.
be on the channel for more than 2.5 minutes for it to count.
Right.
Where does your background, Rob? What got you into this world?
Well, like a lot of the early MTV people, I was a rock radio guy. That's what I started doing first in college, same college radio station that Howard was on a few years before me at Boston University. So I fell in love that way. I dropped out of school. My mom wanted to kill me. My dad said, good, go earn money. And I started in my first radio job when I was 20 years old. Actually, the first night that I was on the radio and paid for it was the night before John Lennon was murdered. So 1980.
1980. Do we got some good David Lee Roth stories? I was combing through my brain.
Must we? Must we? You end up being the only good thing that happened in that experience.
What were
you were the good thing.
Were there some what am I trying to think?
Incendiary?
No, I was thinking
insecticidal.
Incestuous.
I've lost the word. Eccentricities. That's what I wanted to say with David.
He was fucking insane. I mean, I went on Howard Stern about 3 years after all that, and Howard and I talked about it for an hour. Robin called it. David Lee Roth, after I realized I needed to hire you and Jimmy to put this all together, David Lee Roth was the 78th choice. We went to Chris Rock, Larry David, Jerry Seinfeld. We went all over the planet. You were the sure thing for the West Coast, but nobody wanted the East Coast chair. Everybody was afraid of that chair. And Roth was the only one who wanted it. What we didn't realize about 5 minutes after we hired him is that he was a complete insane lunatic who wouldn't listen to anybody that was there to help him. He was on a self-destruction mission.
How many days did he end up doing?
I can't remember, but it was a few short months, I think. You've got the research team. It was a few short months, I think.
And what happened with Rover in the middle of the country? He was a seasoned guy.
God bless him. I don't remember. I'm so old now.
Rover's been at the same station since 2008. He's still there now, and he's syndicated a few markets. Yeah, so he's still grinding.
Yeah, Roth went from January 3rd to April 21st.
Oh, there you have it.
06. So headhunting. I didn't know that was your thing, Rob.
I didn't either. And if you and I had been out for beers 5 minutes before that happened and you said, Rob, you should do the headhunting thing, it would have sounded like gym teacher to me. It really was not a game plan at all. I had a really good run. The last job I had, I was in a senior role at Audible, and that was going great until they called me in one day and said, sorry, we're restructuring. And I said, what does that mean? It means your job's been eliminated. So I was home and stuck in June of 2018, almost exactly 3 years ago, getting a little freaked out, 2 ex-wives, 3 kids, needing to pay some bills. And I just, I couldn't get back in. I didn't know what to do. So one morning I grabbed my iPhone, no game plan, and I pressed record. I just started yapping. And I said, look, this is not unique. There's a lot of my friends who've had some of the best careers imaginable. And not only are we stuck right now, but why is ghosting acceptable? How is that possible? How do we not get a response from people that we've known for 5, 10, 15, 20 years? And why don't we at least put our heads together and talk about it? So I upload the video to LinkedIn and Facebook about 9 a.m. And by that evening, there were 600 lengthy comments under that first video and 16,000 views. So I woke up the next day and I cracked the video on and I said, all right, episode 2. This is called Struck a Nerve. Let's keep talking. I did this about 8 or 9 days in a row, no game plan. But my phone is blowing up. All these people I know are now calling me saying, what are you doing? And so a guy called after about 8 or 9 days and he said, listen, I met you at MTV 100 years ago. I love these videos. I need to hire a chief operating officer. Is that what this is? You're a headhunter? And I went, yes. and then just like your staff's Googling and researching live, I muted it. This was pre-Zoom life. And I Googled all the rest of it because I realized that in that moment, if I could place one senior executive for big money and get my little percentage of that, that was about, a third of what Moonves paid me to run CBS Radio in one act of help, putting a company together with the right person. So this accident became a mission and the mission then became a book. And now my kids are eating again.
Are they eating Mapo? I want to see that original Mapo commercial. Tell Max Zapata if he's in there. But
we've talked about relationships a lot. You've talked about relationships and how important these relationships are. And so ultimately, like you could say it's headhunting, but you're really good at maintaining relationships and keeping that networking opportunity. It sounds like.
Yes, it's 2 things actually, Gina. It's happily a very small enemies list, not a long one, a small one. But then on that other side of it, it's knowing what to do with all those relationships. Honestly, before the headhunting idea, the same thing would happen. Every time my butt hit the pavement, you'd call one of those people up who's running Warner Brothers or CBS, one of those things, and go, hey, so you want to have a drink? Can we get together? Can I pick your brain? Can we have coffee? And I was doing all those moves whenever I lost my job. And I realized now in hindsight that those were loser moves, right? Because even if the person likes you and you go out for some Marie Callender's or whatever we used to do, Adam, what happens at the end is the person says, listen, you're great. I really think you're great. I don't have anything right now. Then say it with me. But I will definitely keep you in mind, and that's the best of what all that can be. So I realized in finding this, that now you can call people and say, look, if you're going to hire a major person in your company, I can get that done for you in 5 minutes. You know, it's giving them something that's useful as opposed to asking them to feel sorry for me and give me a job that they don't have.
Hey, Chris, you got Mapo in 1956 here. That feels too early. I feel
That's all there is.
I know that the three of you are going to be eating this before this interview is over. I know it's going to happen. Yeah.
Oh, okay. They got athletes and stuff. Let's see if we can
Mickey Mantle.
Pretend. Again, look at this through the lens of I want my MTV, and that guy showing up saying that.
And you have the surprise for me?
Yes, sir. It's a new breakfast cereal called Mapo. From now on, you're really going to like oatmeal. Take off your hat. The hat.
I want my cowboy hat.
After breakfast.
I want it now.
Max
Maple
Battle.
sugar candy.
You got the one with the athletes?
Yeah, I found that one. I'm going to send that.
All right.
That wasn't Joe DiMaggio?
Yeah, it was. It was Joe. No, it wasn't Joe. Yeah, that wasn't Joe. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, the one where they go where
they wouldn't have sold me on that one. I don't think I wouldn't have been dying.
I want my MTV.
I think 56 was too early. That was it. That was the problem. I kind of saw that one coming, but we'll get the athletes doing I want my Mapo.
Oh, here we go.
Brian's got it somewhere.
Mickey Mantle.
I want my maple.
There he is.
Johnny Unitas.
I want my maple.
Oscar Robertson.
I want my maple.
Ray Nitschke.
I want my maple.
Okay.
Will Chamberlain.
I want my maple.
Willie Mays.
I want my maple.
Don Meredith.
I want my maple. I want it.
Danny Don.
Maple.
Clearly
Delectable
the
oatmeal that heroes cry for. It comes in flavors. Maple.
All right.
Chocolate.
You had to know Danny Don would put more into it than the other athletes.
That was worth the whole ride. That was worth the setup, you know?
So that guy just takes that idea and turns it into I want my MTV with rock stars. Yeah, well, let's get into that because one of the things you talk about here is ageism. And I've always, there's kind of we always talk about the war on this ethnicity or gay or non-binary, whatever, but really the war's on old in this country. We just don't like it. Old is like one of the last insults you can yell at someone, like, "Hey, your old ass off the stage," or whatever it is. So like old, and there's a constant talk about the demo. We need that demo, man. We need that that coveted young demo. And then no one wants to get old. I mean, if you think about 3/4 of all TV commercials, it's a way to it's either medication that you get when you're older or a cosmetic to prevent you from looking older. It's like, we hate old. And now there's all these guys. When you get of a certain age, you realize there's all these guys with all this experience who were there for MTV and there for CBS Radio or there for the inception of or whatever. And then everyone's like, well, that guy's old. We don't want him. Well, the Mapo guy had an old idea.
That's right.
He just took it to MTV and shuffled the deck a little bit. But what are your thoughts on ageism?
Well, when it started, I realized it was a thing. And as I started talking to dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of job seekers, it does come up all the time. I felt in the beginning like I had the right antidote. The antidote was don't think about it, don't talk about it, and just outshine every other candidate, because back to our heroes and our rock stars, you know, they've overcome it, right? They figured out how to overcome it. Springsteen just reopened on Broadway. What is he, 71 or something? So I do think that a lot of people of a certain age just work their ass off past it and keep going and don't stop. But when it becomes a confidence killer in a job seeker who's out of work, it is a problem. And so that's when I realized that we needed a whole new bag of tricks to get those people even a shot at being interviewed if they were going to be rejected, secretly because of how old they are. So one of the things we started doing is realizing that the oldest thing of all was the world's worst cover letter and the world's worst resume. And they all look like they're written by the same idiot robot. They all go, I have 10 years of experience and a proven track record of success and a demonstrated history of written and oral and communication. And I looked at this, like some of the smartest people, like I would get this resume. I got one from a guy who's a 9-time Emmy winner from Nickelodeon. And on that resume, it said that he has been able to take every project from inception to completion. And then I started seeing that on all these resumes. So I realized that if somebody's got ageism against them, that one of the real antidotes was going to be do more homework than any candidate has ever done. And before they even ask to say hello, before they even look at the resume, I've had people doing these multi-page write-ups on the company that they're presenting to. So here's what I think. Here's what you're doing well. Here's where I think you're off base. Here's what I do about it. And taking real shots. I had a guy, I'm this close to placing the number 2 gentleman at GQ, hopefully by next week. And one of the guys that's in the finals wrote an extremely critical letter to GQ and they loved it. And that's a swing that most people don't ever take. The normal swing, especially if you're out of work and feeling like there's something ugly and wrong, is kiss ass, kiss ass, kiss ass, So I'm going in a completely opposite direction, saying, do the job, be the job. Tell them what you think.
Speaking of feeling old, you got to find, Max Pattis, some clip of Fred Travalena. Fred Travalena was a fairly famous journeyman comedian of the day. He was
impressionist, right?
An impressionist.
Wait, he's not the one that beat the monkeys. Or the chimps.
That's Bearsini.
No,
Okay.
that's Bearsini. Yeah, those orangutans. Okay. Please. Whole different file.
I go with journeyman impressionist.
But back when there were only 13 comedians, these guys would just make the rounds constantly.
Right.
So speaking of feeling old, I was in a green room of a comedy club last night, sitting next to Leno, and then a guy, I think he came with him that's a little older than he is, and amongst these super woke Gen whatever comedians, all in their late 20s, mid 20s and late 20s, and Leno launches off on this story about Fred Travalena. And me and the old guy and Jay are like, Fred Travalena, that guy. And he said, can you believe what that guy did to Fred Travalena? But all the other comedians are like just sitting there staring at us. And we're like, it's Fred Travalena. I think he passed away. His, he had a...
So Adam, Pasternak, right? So Dan Pasternak has become one of my best friends thanks to Kimmel. He lives about 10 miles away here in the great wilds of New Jersey. And on what turned out to be one of the last nights of Earth as we used to know it, Dan had an interview set up with Jay Leno backstage. Jay was going to play one of his 256 live gigs that night in New Jersey. So Dan says, you want to come? And we're starting to hear the beginnings of the world might end. But I decided to go to New Brunswick, New Jersey with Dan. And we're waiting for Leno. He walks in, as he does by himself, lugging his suitcase with the garment bag over his shoulder. And I just looked at him. I think I want to say it was like something like March 13th or 14th, 2020. And I said, hey, Jay, this could be the last show on Earth. And he performed to about a 1/3 filled house. But before he went on stage and during the interview with Pasternak, his phone is going off like constantly. And it's his agent going, canceled. Wow. It was the last night, the last thing we saw.
Yeah, Jay travels with a saddlebag type satchel Like it's I don't know what else to call it. It's not
like a leather buckle.
It's kind of a saddlebag, like a large man purse satchel.
Yes.
If it was made of chiffon, then he would definitely be gay. But he it's a big thick leather thing that he keeps. I don't know, all his jokes or notes or something in.
Nothing gayer or straighter than leather.
Yes, you're right.
A lot of range.
Gayest and the straightest. And we got a picture of Fred Travalena and Jay Leno from
oh my God.
way back in the day. And I don't know what year Fred died, but
That's
he was
Dan from the Dan Band.
he was
Fred died in 2009 at the age of 66, and this picture we're looking at is from 1981.
Look at Jay's hair. Looks like
the
Donny
last
Osmond.
time Jay was not seen in a denim shirt.
That's right.
Yeah, and we had this funny exchange, and I've talked about this. I don't know if there's any Fred Travalena doing George Bush or somebody, but he was an impressionist comedian, and Jay was hosting the Tonight Show, and he just gave this whole story about Fred and his agent and basically wanting things that were kind of absurd, and thus he never came on the show. But I mean, it was one of those stories of like, and it probably dovetails nicely with some of Rob's tutelage when it comes to working, which is like, it's that kind of thing of when you go in for the interview and you're explaining all the days you need off if they hire you because you got weddings coming up and a half birthday in 4 months and things like that. It's like, why are you pushing yourself out of this? Like, you're going to get on the Tonight Show. Why are you having your guy call Jay and read him the riot act? And I don't get why more people aren't sort of aware. I remember in the studio, the edit bay, the room directly behind this studio right now, I'm pointing at it. It's it was an edit bay. Mm-hmm. And when me and Kevin Hench finished The Hammer, we spent all our days in this edit bay. God knows how long editing takes when you shot the film and blah, blah, blah. And we hired our young editing assistant, sort of 24-year-old gal from like the editing academy or something. You know, the editors union would have
Connecticut School of Editing.
It was like a apprenticeship for young editors or whatever. And she'd come, and then Hinch said to her, "Well, first thing you need to do is you need to watch a cut of the movie to see what you're dealing with." And so why don't you go into the next room, which is now the conference room, and we'll pop it in the VHS, and we'll go back to the edit bay. And after about 90 minutes, you know, she was done, and like she kind of came in and she went, "You wanted me to go to Staples or make a food run or something like that?" And Hench said, "Well, you know, what'd you think?" And she's like, "About what? You know what I mean? What'd you think of the movie?" And she goes, "Not my cup of tea." You know what I mean? Like she literally said, "I don't like it. I guess I'm out of the demo." And then Hench went like, "Okay, you can go to Staples." And she went to Staples, and then Hench went, "Well, she's gone.
Right.
I don't work for someone who doesn't like the thing." Hench is currently running 3 sitcoms right now. Could have, you know, happily taken her along for the ride. All she had to do is paint a smile on her face and go, "Oh, it was good. Now let's make it great," you know, or whatever it was. But she just looked at the director, the star, and the writer of it and went, not my thing.
Better.
See, that's the hard to get method of job interview. That's not in the book.
We have Fred Travalena doing multiple impressions.
Here we go.
By the way, he was known. I mean, Rob knows him.
Carter think of what's going on now. Do you like doing Carter?
Do you believe I actually ran this country? Want to buy some books? I make tables and furniture for the homeless. Unfortunately, they don't have homes to put them in.
What about Clint Eastwood? He's
Clint Eastwood. Hey, Clint Eastwood. How you doing, punk?
I guess we didn't ask as much of our impersonators back then.
So what you have to do is ask yourself, do I feel lucky? But my dream is to have Stallone and Schwarzenegger
Oh, great.
Do a movie together.
Here we go.
Remake of High Society, you know.
Last chance,
Have
Fred.
you heard among this clan you are called the Forgotten Man? I'll be back. Hey, you, did you ever, what is what part is it? You know.
We got role models, folks.
The great Fred Travalena,
Surprised
everybody.
you didn't know his name?
It will be missed. He
May he
was,
rest in,
I don't know if he was a
Frank Gorshin.
household name, but he was a condo name.
Sure.
Or maybe
Yeah.
a medium apartment.
Townhouse name.
Townhouse-sized name. Detached. Townhouse
Multifamily.
name. I don't know. Well, Jay Leno knows who he is. Yeah, I have no idea why Jay brought him up, but that was it. He has a star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, so says Max Zapata.
That'll show you.
Just to prove.
I remember one of the first conversations we had when you broke down the difference between a comedian and an improv. And I loved that. I had never forgot that. I was like, yes, that is a way to create two buckets and put the world in them of funny. But then there's impressionists, I guess. That's a third funny.
Yeah, they're kind of the mimes of comedy.
Right?
I guess if you think about it. And by the way, you guys owe me an apology because if you ever walk the Hollywood Walk of Fame and you stare down on the names, you recognize every single name
right,
on there as
everyone.
a huge
Yeah.
A-lister.
That's right.
So if Fred Travalena makes it there, then by proxy,
made it.
he is it's I would love to take a 19-year-old and just Max Zapata. Here's our next TikTok video.
All right.
We take an average 19-year-old from a local junior college and we walk them down Hollywood Walk of Fame and see if they can name 7%. And the comedy will come. Now, they're not going to know the silent film stars and they're not going to know the great Fred Travalena, but at some point they're going to get to John Wayne.
Right. Gene Kelly.
And Gene Kelly, and they won't know
And
shit
not
about
know.
that either.
I don't know who she is.
Right. Yeah, I don't know who Gene Kelly is. Yeah.
Remember Kurt Loder from MTV?
Sure.
We used to do these rockumentaries and then
Sure.
sometimes documentaries, and they would fly us all over the world. I loved working with them. And we were doing a shoot that was in England one year outside of Liverpool, but close enough for us to go spend some time there. My grandma Janie, who's the love of my life, the unconditional love of my life, she was born there. And I couldn't wait to go. So one night we asked the crew if they could stay up late. And we went to the pub where we hoped to find the youngest and drunkest kids in all of Liverpool with a really hot spotlight. We wanted to ask them one question: name all 4 Beatles, because we knew that there was a good chance that we would get the comedy we got, which is 3 out of 4 usually. God knows what time o'clock in the morning, drunk off their ass. And what year would this have been? This would have been mid-90s. And I swear to God, a lot of people had 3 out of 4. They would usually forget Ringo or George.
Did you ever ask about Fred Travalena or no?
That came later.
All right, let's take a break. We'll do the news. Rob, you want to hang out and do the news with us?
Please.
Right after this.
Give me the news with Grad. News with Gina Grad. Breaking, viral, weird crime, protest, politics. Give me news with Gina Grad. Stuff they saw on TMZ. Joe Biden, Kamala. Meet news with Gina Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
Apple has new thoughts on the potential magnetic interference of some of its gadgets with medical devices. So anyone with a pacemaker, anything, listen up. Apple has released a detailed list of products that it says should be kept a safe distance away from medical devices. Engadget.com reports that Apple has acknowledged that under certain conditions, magnets and electromagnetic fields might interfere with your device.
Can I give a quick testimony of how insanely lazy I am now?
Yes.
And maybe this holds true for you guys. the other day, I forgot my earbuds.
Okay.
I had to have a conversation holding a phone to my head, and I was so annoyed.
Oh, it's the
I was
worst.
like, oh, my arm's burning. The lactic acid is built up my delts. I was just so miserable that I had to have an 8-minute conversation and hold the thing. It was such a nuisance to have to do this.
My lazy iPhone move, sorry, Gina, is I'll be in bed or somewhere on the couch and I'll need the temperature turned up or down. I just go on for the ring on the app rather than get up and walk.
Are you
25.
serious?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, my God. I don't have that capability.
I thought you were going to say space.
I can't.
I'm very analog.
I can't handle the headset with a cord on it anymore. I find that too constraining or it's just what is this string hanging out of my ears for? This is horrible.
That's when you just have to go speaker at that point.
Yes.
You can't go the extra 4 because then you're going to run the risk of having someone go, I'll connect you right now, Mr. Carolla, Brighton 422. It's not, I've literally never put my phone in my ear. Brian hears me all the time doing talk to text. We don't do that anymore.
I'm
it's
also
really bad.
scared to drive that way.
That's probably true. Well, an example of this, researchers experimented in January. They placed an iPhone 12 over the heart of a patient with a Medtronic implanted cardioverter defibrillator and reported that the device's operation stopped every time the phone was over it.
Oh, no.
So there's a long list of devices. I mean, it's basically everything they make.
My grandpa had one of those.
It's AirPods and AirPod charging cases and everything that goes with those, Apple Watches and accessories, Home Pods, iPad accessories, iPhone. Just keep it away from your pacemaker.
So I should bring my phone into the MRI machine?
No, sir. Especially. Fox News reports that U.S. Olympic track and field trials were briefly suspended on Sunday because of extreme heat in Oregon. Temps soared to around 108. A listener from Portland sent me his, little Apple weather thing. It said 116. And
wait a minute.
Yeah.
I want this to be part of the trials. They're called trials.
Well, it was, but
what I'm saying is when GM comes out with an SUV, they take it to Death Valley for trials. I want to know these Americans, if it gets hot in Sochi or wherever they're going.
Tough against the elements.
Tokyo.
Yeah, that's right. You got to keep running, bitch.
Well, she tried, but one competitor withdrew and they carted her out in a wheelchair. Some fans had to be evacuated. The trial shut down at 3:40 with 6 events remaining. They resumed at 8:30 at night. The Pacific Northwest has been hitting record-setting heat over the weekend. Portland 112, Eugene 110, Salem 112. These are historic temperatures.
And nobody has air conditioning out there.
What do you mean?
You don't need central air when you live a lot. If you live, I'll give you a regional example.
Okay.
If you live in the San Fernando Valley, if you live in Canoga Park, you better fucking have some central air. A lot of houses in Malibu. Right. I mean, the new expensive multi-million-dollar, but the older houses
Santa Monica.
on Point Doom and apartments in Santa Monica, they just build air into it.
Yeah.
They lived in a place where they didn't need air.
No, you're right.
And so I think a lot of places in Portland and these places, older places, they don't have central air because they don't need it.
It's probably humid too.
Mm-hmm.
Probably sucks. But remind us again what the temp's going to look like for you in Alaska.
Alaska, Sonny checked on it. It's so funny. Alaska, you have this picture. He's like, I'm going to bring my snowshoes and my parka, and
He knows it's July, right?
Yeah, I don't know what he knows, but he looked it up and it said it was 65, 68 degrees or something over there.
That's going to be so perfect.
Might rain over the weekend.
Might rain on
55,
Saturday
60,
or something like that. We're going to Alaska, Rob. So
I've been following on the socials. I'm liking it. How long are you going for?
God, about 4 or 5 days. According to Dawson, who I'm looking at, which I'm doing a couple of shows on Saturday night, but we're going to hit a lodge and hang out. I mean, I hear it's amongst the most beautiful places to go if you're into the nature. And I want to go see. I want to see bears pulling salmon out of streams. That's what I want. I don't know why. Is there something about? It's It's like 7 acts of nature all taking place at once. It is the greatest nature smoothie ever.
Symbiosis.
You have bears. You have the bears, which we all love a bear. You know what I mean? But you see the bear at the zoo and it's sleeping all the time or doing that weird pace thing that says, get me the fuck out of here.
Dart.
Or then there's the bear at the circus and he's got a pipe in his mouth and it's duct taped, and it's like, that doesn't seem like nature to me. But this is bears. And then this is bears in the stream, like standing in water. So now you got the bears and you got the water. Hey, look, I got a Labrador. I like my dog Phil, but when he gets in the pool, I love him. He's just like grunting and he's treading and it's just like it's more nature. So you got the bear, you got the stream, you got the bear in the stream, then you have the salmon spawning. You got them, the ultimate act of nature. They remember where they were born when they were shat out in eggs, you know what I mean? And somehow
they return.
They know where to go after being in the open sea. So that's a cool part of nature. Then the best part of nature is nature eating nature, which is always a plus. And nature doesn't really enjoy that. Like, anyone I know has ever had a snake, a python, or an iguana or something, they always drop the mouse. They drop the mouse in it, and then you all stand by the aquarium and you stare at it for 20 minutes and nothing happens. And then you check in an hour and the mouse is sleeping on top of the snake. And then at some point when you go to bed, that's when the snake eats the mouse. We want the nature. We're going to see the bears eating the salmon coming upstream with their paws.
Oh, shit. If you get mauled, it'll be the best day of your life.
Best day. Worst breath. Best day.
They say that the bears will not care about us because they are sitting at a buffet.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Well, I saw a video of Grammy winner JUUL, who lives there now and still and posts all the time. So JUUL is walking the woods a day or two ago, making really weird JUUL sounds, saying this is the normal thing you do in Alaska so that you're not eaten by a bear when you're on a mellow walk in the woods. You got to let them know you're coming.
Oh,
you
better follow JUUL and quick.
Tell Mike to book JUUL for Saturday night, man.
You're a fan?
Yeah, I like JUUL, and I think we hung out with her a little. Didn't we hang out with her in
in
Pebble
Monterey
Beach? Yeah. All right.
Yeah, she loves you.
Well, of course, I'm saying
me.
Alaska like it's 3 blocks long. So get the research team.
Yeah.
We got to tell Parker, that's always been my goal. If I was ever going to just do a cruise for fun, it would be an Alaskan cruise. See all that stuff.
Oh, maybe, I was thinking to myself, Max Pata, I'm going to be in Alaska and be away from my cold plunge tank for 4 or 5 days, but maybe get into that stream.
Yeah, whenever we go to any city that has pretty harsh winters, Adam complains about how the cold showers in the morning feel, so I'm curious to see what Alaska's going to do.
I'm getting in that bear stream.
You're jumping in?
You're spawning.
That's right.
How many states are left, Carolla? Who has not paid you to be funny?
I'd say my dad. Okay, let's wrap this up. Let's bring it home. Rob's torn the Band-Aid off the wound.
Do you hear? This is a video that the Lodge posted.
The Lodge posted this. All the bears.
Oh my!
What is it? Is that 3, 4, 5 bears like in the water?
In the water.
Another bear, baby bear, medium bear, just walking around, eating.
Oh,
yeah. So we're going.
So jealous.
We're going here.
Oh man.
On the proverbial grizzly bear versus Bengal tiger, I'm on team grizzly bear.
Mm-hmm.
I think grizzly bear fucks up a tiger. A lot of idiots just say tiger.
Well, that's definitely going to be my story when I'm stream side.
Now you're talking.
I'm not going Team Tony.
No.
Not with that partisan
I'm on your
crowd.
guys'
Yeah. Wow. I wonder how cold that water is. It's got to be cold.
You're going to find out.
We're going to find out.
If you guys see cubs, I'm going to plot.
There's got to be cubs around somewhere. I'm going to tell Sonny to grab one and snatch it, take it back to the cabin.
Raise it as your own.
Yeah, see how far he can get. That's right. Put him on a fan boat. Go down to the Everglades.
James Corden taking a little bit of heat for what's now a controversial segment called Spill Your Guts. That's on his late night show after an online petition gathered more than 45,000 signatures. So this is a recurring segment where he asks his celebrity guests personal questions. If they don't want to answer it, they have to eat what's considered a gross food. And while
cicadas got to be on there.
Oh,
now.
sure. I think there've definitely been like cicadas, not mosquitoes, crickets. What's been a recurring segment for years now has people pretty pissed off. One woman's TikTok video calls it racist because some of the food is Asian food. And that TikTok video has gone totally viral. Her username is Kim Syra, and she's the one that has been gathering these signatures. And she says foods like chicken feet and a fertilized egg and a 1,000-year-old egg and something called pig blood tofu are not disgusting foods. They are regularly eaten by Asian people. In response to this, Corden said he wouldn't.
But
he's
don't
not gonna,
you think it's a two-way street? Like if we went to her neighborhood where her ancestors were, and we forced them to eat stuffed crust pizza.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Cheese whiz.
They would never
have a
stop
hard
growing
time
up
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, or that peanut butter that has the jelly mixed in with it.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, the squeeze bottle.
Yeah, like jelly in a squeeze bottle.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean,
Miracle Whip in a squeeze bottle.
Yeah.
I think great grandma would yak if we showed her that.
mayo chip that they make that now.
Yes. I believe
The mayo
mayonnaise
and the
is looked
ketchup.
at, but disgusting.
Oh, delicious fluffernutter. But that's the thing. Like the other day, I was talking about kugel, and Brian was like, "Ugh, bleh, bleh," like the noodle casserole.
Not
that I
a
said
Jew.
yeah,
Not a Jew.
not a
Yeah.
Jew. Definitely not a Jew.
Pretty gross.
A little cottage cheese, a
I'm
couple
with
of
you on
raisins.
the kugel.
And
I'm with you.
Are you not a fan?
I said
No,
fat.
I'm
Oh,
with
you
you.
love
I'm
a
a
little
Jew and a
cinnamon,
fan.
yeah. And,
Oh, yeah.
And that sounds gross to a lot of people,
It's
but
kind of
it's
like
delicious.
dessert lasagna, right?
In a way, sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Of
Okay.
course, you nailed it. Yes.
Thank you, Rob.
That's it.
Gina, do you see how this works?
I do.
Well, maybe a distant cut.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
could be.
Maybe
it's not
if you
layered.
squint.
Squint your eyes.
It's literally just baked noodles, but yes.
I've
okay.
had it before, and it feels
You
like.
thought it was a peanut butter substitute.
Well, there was a product
Kugel.
called Kugel
Google.
that I'd heard of. These are all commercials I saw. I never
That's right.
got to taste it.
No,
Mickey Mantle endorsed it.
That's right.
So Corden says
There's Kegel. That's something.
that's
something
different.
else.
You don't want to put Kugel
sensual,
in your Kegel.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. So he's not going to remove the segment, but they are going to replace the offending foods. He said, my show's all about love and joy and light, and if people are offended, we just won't do it. But that was the bit.
Yeah. Well, so he has to either invent food, because if he picks food from other cultures
Right.
that we won't eat, then he's going to get the cultural appropriation
Right.
thing. But I don't know. I feel like people ought to just let the late night guy do what he wants. He's losing weight. Maybe it's all the chicken feet he's eating.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when we talk about intention, who is less controversial than James Corden?
Nobody.
He's clearly not doing this to ruffle feathers. He's doing this because he's trying to have fun with whoever's still awake.
Ruffle feathers, good dish.
Yeah,
That's
a
right.
Segment.
He opened for Fred Travalena back in the day. Russell feathers.
Oh.
Did also James? Someone's got to. Maybe there should be a PSA for like fat people, because fat people have this thing where they're fat, and then they have this number where they go, "I want to get down to this number," but it's still a fat. He's still fat at that number. Someone needs to explain that. Well, that's good progress. We still got to get below that number. I think he hasn't been below, I don't know, 200 pounds or something, but I don't think he's a big guy.
Sure.
But my theory is his super skinny wife is going to leave him when he gets too thin.
Why?
Because she married a fat guy.
That's her
Oh,
thing.
good. It's not as advertised.
And also, when you're the skinny blonde and you marry the fat guy, that's your insurance policy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That he's not going to stray.
When he looks good in his board shorts, now he's just a famous late night rich host who
Right.
looks good in shorts.
Taking rides with Gwyneth Paltrow and singing.
That's right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That
Tom
makes
Brady.
sense.
Oh, was he in there?
He sung Hamilton with Tom Brady the other
How
day.
have I missed this?
You don't watch TMZ?
You're right.
That's a hole in your game, Gina.
You're right.
Let's be honest about
Well,
it.
that's a nice looking couple.
Yeah, he was singing with Tom. He was singing Hamilton with Tom Brady, which someone's got to find problematic as well at some point. I don't know why.
Well, the
She
irony
looks
of
like
the
Celine Dion.
She does. She
Yeah.
does.
the irony of people of color playing, Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson and all these founders. So we're now going both ways.
Right. So now
Tom
Triple
singing,
Agent.
Whitey can't sing songs by Whitey,
right?
Essentially, because a black guy played the white guy.
But can't sing songs by the people of color about the white people.
Mm-hmm.
This is getting confusing.
It is.
Okay. JUUL, a different JUUL. We have a lawsuit. North Carolina has won its vaping case against e-cigarette maker JUUL in a $40 million settlement. Attorney General Josh Stein called it a big victory. This was his tweet. He said, as a result of the court order, we're requiring JUUL to change the way it operates. No new flavors, strong age verification, no marketing to kids. And it must pay North Carolina $40 million to help kids addicted to nicotine quit and to prevent others from starting. How they do that, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
that's
know.
That's where the $40 million's going.
Well, I talked to a guy who was a pioneer in that world, and I can't remember if I was talking to you guys about this or not, but I was saying, so a couple things. Vaping is bad, but it's water vapor, nicotine, which aren't bad. But in general, you're just not supposed to pull shit into your lungs other than air. But also, he pointed out that people have been smoking for millions of years, and they've been okay with it. And maybe even the filter on a cigarette could be the problem, because people always smoke tobacco, but then there's all the other things that are in the tobacco. I
could be wrong about this, but isn't vaping vegetable glycerin or some sort of glycerin?
He said that some stuff is a higher end than others, and like you don't want the cheap Chinese stuff, but if you wanted to get the higher end vape, you'd probably be a little better on your lungs. But nicotine, everyone's freaked out by nicotine, but nicotine is like caffeine. It's just not really bad for you.
It's the formaldehyde that's added to the nicotine.
It doesn't really do anything to you. But still, I don't know. I feel the same way about like cherry flavored vape as I do about, cotton candy flavored vodka. Just fucking grow up and have a drink, or fucking go to the park with the Boone's Farm and the kids. Like, we don't need to dumb everything down so that everyone can catch a buzz who has not entered the adult realm. You know what I mean?
They absolutely agree with you.
Good.
That's what marketing to kids is about. Birthday cake flavored, Smirnoff or whatever.
And, it's also going to prevent a whole generation of people from crossing over.
Out of the yummy phase.
Yes, because give a martini to an 11-year-old and he'll spit it in your face. I mean, a martini is got to be about the worst tasting liquid that an 11-year-old could try. Now you long for a martini. You look for if somebody's a place that makes great martinis or the way you want the martini. You're going out for a steak that night. You're thinking about the martini on the way there. So we had a transition. We got from 11 to alcoholic, essentially, who thinks about martinis. If there was some way station in the middle that tasted like cotton candy, but we caught a buzz, maybe we'd never get to martini.
Yeah, that's called enter the Appletini.
God forbid.
Right. Ugh.
Not a fan. Anything that you can make with pucker, not into it.
Well, as I scream from every mountaintop every day, martini is its own flavor. Like we don't need to add flavors. It's a martini. Then go get a pina colada. If you
go
want
to Shirley
something else.
Temple.
Or a Shirley Temple and, put a little vermouth in there or something. But a martini's a martini. We don't need apple flavored martinis.
Amen.
Or peach or anything else.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Do we have time for one more?
One more.
Okay, this is something I'm very excited about. A father who has taken his gripe about having to take down a tree fort that he built with his kids. He's gotten a lot of attention on Reddit. So the dad, who goes by Dave, printed out this scathing letter that called out his neighbor for snitching on him to the HOA. That this tree fort wasn't allowed, and it's a group on Reddit called Facepalm. So I have the letter. It was tacked to the man's tree where the tree fort used to be, and it's an open letter to whoever snitched on him to the Homeowners Association. It says, "Dear anonymous passerby, Don't worry, you're safe now. Your act of casual cruelty was successful. The complaint.
He's the Martin Luther of our time.
Good call.
Thank you.
Wow.
You guys think I don't know
Good
my
pull
fucking
from history,
Yeah.
historical.
That's good.
notes.
The
Yes.
complaint you lodged with the HOA was heard. They made me take down the small tree fort that I built on this location with my sons during the pandemic. No longer will its presence offend your walk past my house. Please enjoy your stroll free from the sound of my children's laughter. They're safely back inside now, watching television, I'm sure. Enjoy the unobstructed view of my backyard. I'll try to keep it up to code.
Ugh. Who are these people? Like, I got to blow a call into the HOA. There are all these people out there, which are somebody's doing something and they didn't ask me first people. Somebody's throwing a party. Someone's built a treehouse. Someone's pruning a shrub. Like, something is happening and nobody cleared it with His Highness.
And it's not a bad thing. Something's bringing that guy joy, and I don't have any joy. Why should they get to have joy?
Would you ever in a million years think about that? A treehouse for kids and you
No,
going
think how awesome that is. I'm like, Telsey, you want to go play on that?
Yeah. Did they have a picture of the treehouse?
No, just of the sad sign tacked to the tree.
All right, let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
I want my MTV. Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
The book, Next Job, Best Job, Rob Barnett, available now on Amazon. And you can shoot him a tweet or an Instagram at Rob Barnett Media. Always good to see you, my friend. Glad you're doing well.
Thank you. Great reunion. Great to see all of you.
I agree. So, I'm going to be live everywhere. Go to AdamCarolla.com. And until next time, it's Adam Carolla for Rob Barnett and Gina Grad and Bald Ryan saying mahalo.
Kiss ass, kiss ass, kiss ass.